Hey folks, thanks for watching. I'm Greg McCone and I practice IT service management at work using the ITIL framework, which is the IT infrastructure library. Today I wanted to talk to you about root cause analysis. An LSI? Anyways, root cause analysis is a practice that's used to determine underlying causes that have resulted generally in a large service outage. When people need to get to the bottom of understanding why it happened so it can be prevented. So this is definitely something that fits under the continual service improvement function, and it relates to the incident management function as well. So I wanted to share a little bit of information about how root cause analysis is used in our organization. First of all, a root cause analysis for us is a big deal. We do not do them frequently. It has to be large and painful in order for us to pursue a root cause analysis. We conduct fairly thorough ones, and so there's a fair cost associated with conducting a root cause analysis. So the basic structure that we use is there will be a trigger, and typically that'll be director level request for analysis to understand what caused an unplanned service outage or an incident. So the director will make that request. That's an internally initiated process. And so what we do is we interview stakeholders who are involved, and then after that we'll build a causal map to understand the relationships between the activities that took place. We'll build a timeline so we can see how the incident developed over time and where the delays were and those sorts of things. And then at the end of the process we'll come up with recommendations. So let's go to the beginning part. The interview process is much like business analysis work, where you're casting your net fairly wide in order to make sure that you don't miss some salient point that is useful for capturing. So we will interview the people who were directly involved in the incident or the outage, who were directly involved in recovering that, who were directly involved in the services that participated in that incident happening, or who owned that particular service. We'll talk to people who represent the customers and who by proxy represent the customer requirements and the customer pain in the situation. So we'll cast our net fairly wide. We do have some really excellent staff who serve as a customer service liaison and acting as an advocate for those customers. So we have those folks in-house, and that is a huge advantage to us to be able to understand the customer pain in the situation. I make a point of being clear with people that a root cause analysis is looking for more than one cause. It's not looking for the one thing that made this all fall apart. Generally, you'll have workload issues, you'll have availability issues, you'll have documentation issues, you'll have communication issues, you'll have training issues, and it just builds and builds and builds. And that's why these large events take place, because you have a cumulative failure of many small parts. So when we conduct our interviews, we invite people to an interview, and it's just one-on-one data gathering. So it's not a big panel. And what we'll do is we'll sit them down and we'll ask them to tell us about the event that took place. When did you first find out about it? What was your involvement? What did you do next? What did you hear? What was going on? Because we're interested in what they did and didn't do, but we're also interested in what they observed. We really want all the details. We minute everything that is said. But before we start that interview, we assure them that a root cause analysis is primarily about improvement, that it's not about assigning blame. And so we're really clear and candid with that, because in some cases folks have experienced the opposite, where it's a witch hunt, and that is very counterproductive, because folks then need to be convinced to share information for fear of being punished somehow. So once they're assured, then we minute everything, and we walk them through that, make it a respectful, blame-free process, and we capture everything. And in that process, we're also saying, is there anyone else we should be talking to? Because often they know who is involved. And so very quickly, the list of folks to interview gets filled out, and we're able to get enough information. So one hint around timing, wait till the incident's over and everybody gets a good night's sleep. You want people to be out of crisis mode when they're in the interview. You want them to have had an opportunity to reflect a little bit on the details of what's taken place. Additionally, I would recommend not waiting too long. If you wait too long, the memory fades and the details become fuzzy. So for timing, yeah, let them get out of crisis, but before folks move on. In every interview, we're asking those stakeholders, those participants, what could have prevented this? What do you think caused this? Was there anything else that contributed to this? Was there anything that could have been done better? And so, given that opportunity, these are the experts, these are the frontline people, they saw it all go down. So they have a unique, unfiltered vantage point from which to contribute recommendations. And the root cause analysis can act as a vehicle to give these people a voice and to make sure that the experts who can see the solution actually are able to, via the process, communicate with leaders who can implement that solution. After those interviews, we'll do a causal map. So my favorite mapping technique is to build a mind map. So we start with the event in the middle and the contributing factors and just keep branching out, branching out, branching out. And don't worry if you're doing this, if you're building a mind map, a causal map showing the relationships, if you keep repeating a topic in different locations, don't worry. You don't have to normalize that diagram. So if you don't want to use a mind map for a causal diagram or a causal map, you might choose using a fishbone diagram. That's a fairly common choice. The idea is you draw a line and you write the failure or the incident there, and then off of that you draw diagonal lines, and on each of those lines the contributing factors for that, and then from those more lines and the contributing factors to those. It's effective to about 3 levels deep. If you get much beyond that, your fish starts looking pretty weird in the fishbone diagram. So another thing when we're doing our mapping is it will become apparent that there are some themes, and so recommendations might develop at that point too. So in building the timeline, it's a good way to visualize delay. Often time counts when you're trying to resolve an incident and get services back up for the customer. And so being able to visualize the flow of things, how long it took to get the next tier of support involved, how long it took for someone to dial in and provide support, all those sorts of things. It's quite useful because it illustrates a whole host of other problems, and putting the time dimension in is quite effective. Something that might not make sense otherwise starts to make perfect sense. So it's been interesting in my participation in root cause analysis to see that reasonable people doing a good job, doing their best, can be participants in these huge incidents through no fault of their own. But the cumulative effect can be quite damaging. So one of the challenges that I've had is understanding when a root cause analysis should be triggered. So if you have a leader saying do one, that's pretty clear, but it seems to me that sometimes they should be triggered without a leader saying that. So obviously you have to have leadership buy-in to decide that's a good use of staff time. But I'm curious to know in your organization what triggers a root cause analysis, and whether staff can initiate that themselves or whether they need to wait for leaders to demand that kind of time and involvement. The last one I participated in had about 40 hours of interviews and processing those interviews, so that was a fair investment of time. The impact of that incident was quite significant too, so that made a lot of sense. There was a lot of pain around that. That's what I wanted to share with you about root cause analysis, and apologize for the editing today. A little bit rough, but thanks for bearing with me while I get some better skills at editing these videos. So that's it for root cause analysis. I'm Greg McCone. and I practice IT service management and enjoy bringing you these videos. Let me know what you think in the comments below, or if you like it, click the like button, that helps a lot. If you'd like to see more of these videos on more of these topics as I share the experiences I've had with the different ITIL disciplines, go ahead and click subscribe, and you'll be notified when new videos are uploaded. All right, take care. Have a great day.